Let's see if we can get some of these through some of these. Maybe we can get some better answers and stuff.
Right.
Darius in Illinois. How you doing, Darius? You think that no one actually believes that God exists. So what's the case here?
Sure. Good to talk to you, Jim and Matt. So I have just a short, quick argument to show that most theists know that God doesn't really exist. I know people have saddled you saying that you know that God does exist. So I'm here to kind of reverse that. Can I have a quick minute just to present my argument?
I will, and I'll warn you ahead of time. I'm probably going to shit all over yours the same way I shit all over the other one. But you knew that before you called in, didn't you?
Yeah, perfect. That's perfect.
You're up, Darius.
Okay, so Matt. Yeah, Matthew 17:20 says that if you have faith as much as a grain of a mustard seed, you should say to a mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible. There's other verses that say, whatever two or more people shall gather in my name, and ask I will do. Now, I was a theist for the vast majority of my life. It's only up until recently that I became an atheist. And even when I was a theist, when I prayed and asked God for things, I would never ask for things that I knew to be impossible. I would never ask for things like, could you regrow an amputee's leg, or could you bring my loved one back to life so I can spend a day with them? Could you cure world diseases overnight? You know, and not only would I never think to ask these type of prayers, but none of the people in my religious groups would ask these type of prayers, which to me suggests that on some subconscious level, we know and understand these things not to be possible, which is contradictory to what the scripture says, that these things shall be impossible. So do you think that since we don't ask these type of prayers, on some level, we know and understand that this isn't real?
Well, I think I would counter with, do you think it's that, or do you think it's that most Christians don't think themselves worthy of God answering their prayers? Because those are two very different questions.
Well, I would say that according to the scriptures, I mean, if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, now that's not really a measure of faith. A mustard seed doesn't really tell you much, but that suggests that you don't need much faith to ask for these things and they will happen. It also says that two or more you ask for something in my name, I will do. So it doesn't say, according to the scriptures, that you have to be worthy, you know, according to God, that you only need faith as much as a mustard seed to ask these type of things.
So I've actually used both of these things before. I'm not gonna quite dump all over your thing, because you're correct in some sense, but I can put my Southern Baptist hat back on. First of all, how do you know that you have faith at the size of a grain of mustard seed? How can you demonstrate that? Wouldn't it be the case that if you told a mountain to move and it didn't move, and the Bible is true and God is true, that all that proves is you didn't have faith that amounted to a grain of mustard seed? So there's the one defeater for that part. But the other one about whatever two more you asked together my name, this was the premise for Kevin Smith's wonderful film Dogma, that's really hard to find right now because of legal issues. But all that would mean is that there's never been two sincere believers in the same place at the same time asking for the same thing, which means that if you sat down with a bunch of believers and you all got together to ask for something, then there aren't two believers, which in your case works in favor of your argument. Because let's say we have 100 people in the room praying for something. If it doesn't happen, then that means at most there was one true believer in there and not two. And so what you do then is you take and you divide those groups off into smaller and smaller segments until you can figure out who the one is. And when it turns out that they all fail, then there wasn't a one.
I think that's a very nice way to weasel out of the way of acknowledging that these scriptures don't hold up as read. But I understand what you mean.
I agree, Darius, that the scriptures don't hold up as read and that we potentially know that. But to say that that means people don't believe it underestimates the power of rationalization.
Also underestimates the ability of people to make excuses for why I think for their beliefs, right?
Or to hold, to engage in cognitive dissonance, to hold mutually exclusive beliefs. I think you're right, Darius. I just don't think it. I've used similar lines. I just don't think it has much power. But what you should do is ask believers that. Just, hey, why aren't you moving that mountain? Why aren't you and your friends getting together to pray for an end to poverty or world hunger?
Yeah. And it seems that if another thing, it seems that if they truly believe that, you know, God is who he said he was, or he has the power, or that the scriptures are true, it doesn't seem like they live out their lives in accordance. You know, if I thought that this was true and that God could do these things, there would be no need for health insurance or going to the hospital, because I could just ask God, and, you know, but you don't see people, you know, behaving in these types of ways, which just kind of suggests to me that on some subconscious level, they kind of know and understand that, you know, I don't know.
I suspect that you are, I suspect that you are on target, and yet it's still something that we can't conclusively demonstrate. It is a pestering little question to keep asking the believers, and you should definitely do that.